Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope all's well for everyone. Hope everyone's doing exceptionally well. So this is a topic that we've been waiting on. This is a big one, mental health. Definitely been taking my time, getting a lot of research and notes, getting some stuff together. Hopefully that'll help someone. So get your pad, paper, and pen. I'll take some notes. I'm going to go over some stuff, get some takeaways going. Got a couple of things that might help someone. For those who are new, welcome to the channel, www.rebuildingcommunitytrust.org. Again, this site is dedicated to help those in community outreach for law enforcement matters and the things thereof. There's a lot of material out so far. Hopefully everyone's enjoying it. Hopefully everyone's passing it on, sharing it. For those who are continuously watching, I want to say a big thank you again for rocking with me, and subscribe, hit the bell. Check out Inspirational Quote Wednesdays. It's the third week strong. To uplift and encourage those. It's on SoundCloud. I put it on Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to eventually move over to Google Play and a couple of this streaming venues. So please stay tuned to that every week. Wednesdays, the scripture to meditate helps someone uplift. So let's get right into it. Mental health, very sensitive topic. It's constantly scrutinized by health professionals. Our Congress, lobbyists, we always constantly looking at ways to improve our mental health. There's so many different avenues and brands of it that we have to continuously research and it changes daily. Amidst of what's going on, we all know mass shootings, active shooters, continuous homicides, murders, any criminal justice related thing. This is a big topic. I feel like that mental health is related to criminal activity. And we just have to take a look at it in a deep aspect. We got a lot of stuff going on in our communities. It impacts all races again. Everybody's affected by mental health. African Americans, again, is really something we really need to look at as a people, as a whole, because we're the ones that's dealt the bad hand. We're the ones that's dealing with the socioeconomic statuses, low income, low poverty. We deal with a lot of incarceration. A lot of our African American men are incarcerated in prisons. They're the ones that's having the most struggles. A lot of our women, African American women, are dealing with abuse. Our kids, our youth is really affected by this stuff. And it just continues to get snowball's effect. So real quick, before I start, I just want to make sure I'm clear that I'm not a health care professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm just someone that's real passionate about mental health, and definitely some of the research and the notes that I pulled, I'll put on the page. I got a couple of videos, interesting videos from those who are acting in this field daily, and that it brought some key points to help those that's in need. It's a critical issue. I want people to really pay attention to this and just see how criminal activity and mental disorders, mental health is related. Definitely want to make sure the youth is definitely on this. I want to make sure that people understand that, our youth is definitely getting affected by our mental health early on. Plain examples that I've experienced personally as growing up with my upbringing, where mental health from my parents, it plays a big role on my upbringing. A lot of people I've seen or been around or talked with had an upbringing where it wasn't positive. So when we think about it, with our mental health, how is it affected at an early age? Will we teach our children? Will we invest in our kids early on? It determines how they come out as adults. It starts from it's generational. So what happens to us, we pass along to our children, they pass along to their children, and so on and so forth. We have to stop the trend. We have to educate our youth on mental health. We have to get them screened. We have to get them aware on what can we do to make sure that they're good to go mentally. What steps can we take if we have issues within our families, if we have issues within ourselves? How can we get the help that we need to offset a lot of these mental issues? A couple of videos by Nadine Burke Harris, Dr. Harris. I'm going to post on there with the ACEs triggers, with the ACEs test that's dealing with different categories of mental health disorders caused by environmental pressure, so environmental triggers. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with incarceration. We're dealing with abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, verbal. Just plenty examples of the ACEs triggers that we have that are causing our youth to be affected. Getting 4 or more. I remember she saying get 4 or more, you're considered mentally ill. It's a good video. I'm going to put it on the the page. So please check it out, share it. But the youth is really affected by this. So we look at the Census Bureau, right? 2014, did a little digging. Approximately 45.7 million people claim themselves as African American, which is measured 12.6% increase from 2010. So the census is done every 4 to 6 years or every 4 years. And another one's coming out in 2020, and that hasn't reached yet. But we look at from 2010 to 2014 to 2018, and we already see a 13% increase. It's a 2% increase from last time, where we're growing as a minority. We still consider a minority along with the Latinos, Hispanic, Native Americans, Asian population, and of course the whites, the Caucasians is 62%. So we're looking at these different statistics and the demographics issues, prevalence, attitudes, treatment issues, access, and insurance. All these categories are made to determine how our mental health is measured among the people as a group, as a whole. So when we look at the numbers, we look at the statistics that's coming in, we look at all these different issues as far as treatment. We look at the attitudes, perception of mental health is looked negatively. If someone goes to see a therapist, it's considered negative. We look at documentation. I was talking to a couple people the other day. They had a crisis. A couple of things happened in their lives, and they needed to get help. It was overboard. They couldn't handle it. And it was documented in their record, behavioral health. Is that a negative thing? You know what I'm saying? When you try to apply for a job, a certain type of job you want, they look at that to see if you're mentally stable. Whether you either had an issue before and it got cleared up, or you're continuously dealing with the issue. So we have to look at the change attitude of mental health and see how it's not looked at negatively. Especially in the African American community, we don't want a stigma of people who are mentally ill. All right, so, we deal with the treatment issues. What's available treatment? Once we in these systems, especially if incarcerated, what rehabilitation is there for our people as a whole, whether it's African American, white, Hispanic, Asian, wherever the case may be, in our criminal justice system, jail system. What are the resources there to help rehabilitate those who are dealing with traumatic experiences when we're dealing with different issues as such? So we have to look at all the different aspects of mental health and see what can we do to make it better. A couple of points out of these issues ties into criminal activity and how the backgrounds relate to criminal activity and the response to treatment and rehabilitation. According to the Aaliyah Weberman and Bethany Brand, this article discusses how the psychopathology among violent criminals are higher among emotional dysregulation. That means, in other words, that the mismanagement of people, we don't know how to manage emotions, which lead to crimes such as homicide and aggravated assault. The results show in a 6-month study that those who have dissociative disorders, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, the DID, the antisocial personality disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, mania, all these different things, these examples, all these things contribute to crime, right? So the articles that I pulled up that discusses this and how the psychopathology, the development relates to criminal activity. When someone can't handle a certain situation, so we can go into where someone at a job is told no, or just something simple as being denied an opportunity to get promoted, or denied an opportunity. It could happen in colleges, where someone is antisocial. Antisocial, introvert, right? So they're not having friends. They're not, engaging with the environment that's around them. They feel like they're by themselves. They try to fit in, and then they reject it because they're not, the norm. They're not fitting the norm. That causes issues. What I'm saying? Then they feel outcast, and then next thing you know, they are committing a crime, or possibly committing a crime, or thinking about committing a crime. So there's so many different ways to think about it. PTSD, again, it's not just stigmas. PTSD is to the military because the combat, dealing with combat casualties and dealing with working in a high up-tempo environment. It's not just limited to military. That's the stigma, is the military, right? So, but it's PTSD is traumatic as a young age. PTSD is post-stress traumatic disorder. Post-stress trauma, disorder. So We thinking about it can be someone was molested when they were younger, or someone was abused when they were younger, or someone was, going from dealing with a loss of a parent, or dealing with something traumatic, at an early age. That's PTSD. We got to get out the stigma where it's not just with the military. It could be happening any traumatic, a car accident, someone you watch die, or someone that you're close to. It could be anything in your mind that's PTSD related. It's just, again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not gonna get into the details, but I'm just pointing out different things, how they affect, the crime that we have in our country today. A lot of these criminal activities, whether we're dealing with murder, homicide, we're dealing with, arson, something simple as burglary, we can be rape, sexual assault, all these different things are criminal activities, and it stems from psychopathology, right? So 13% of the patients that are in these hospitals, in these treatment, in these groups, report involvement in a court case. But not only with that, it could be limited to victim or witness. So we have to think about the statistics that support mental illness in relation to criminal behavior. We have to think about, okay, if a patient reported that he's involved in some type of criminal dispute, it can be simple as assault. Not all cases, I'm not saying all cases that are mental health related, but it could be, something deeper. Something that happened traumatic, to where they reacted the way they did. Whether, it's a lot of reasons. We have to sit back and we have to analyze what's going on in our minds. So, interesting takeaways about the criminal justice, criminal crime, criminal behavior related to mental health. So, we got also Dr. Nadine Harris. She talked about the drug and substance abuse, domestic violence, sexual, verbal, physical, all these things we've seen, right? We've seen this stuff on TV. We've seen it in our media. We even experienced it. Some parents, we experienced that domestic violence. We've seen parents get into it, and it's passed down to our kids. It's passed down to our kids when we get into it. So if we don't deal with the issues, it's going to keep going down the line. Some people have been sexually assaulted. Some people have been verbally assaulted, physically assaulted. And this stuff builds. This stuff is not treated. It carries on into adulthood. From the youth up, and even as an adult, we're dealing with it to where we need to go to a therapist or get some type of help. The emotional dysfunctions that lead to criminal activity, so our emotions, the way we deal with our emotions, the way we deal with pressure, we cope, right? We have difficult times, we cope. So our coping mechanisms are also affected by our mental health. How we cope with life, how we deal with certain situations, whether good or bad. We have to look at these emotional dysfunctions. What is wrong? Why are you acting a certain type of way? Each race group is different too. So each person, whether we African Americans, we deal with it a different way. A lot of people I know, we tend to go to drugs when we can't cope. We can't deal with life. We go to drugs. We go to alcohol. We go to, we abuse our women, or vice versa. Women abuse their men. And then we take it out on our kids. So I'm around environments where I've been growing up, where I've seen people, cope with mainly substance abuse, drugs, alcohol. They tend to use that as an addiction, as a way of coping, a way of getting away from the problem, instead of going to dealing with it. And it snowballs into something else. It comes from distribution, and it comes to using, and then it becomes an addiction. Then it becomes, and it snowballs to where I'm committing a criminal crime to get this drug. I'm going to rob you to get this money to get this drug. I'm going to harass. I'm going to steal. I'm going to do other things to get this drug now, because now I'm a dependent upon this drug. So I need to do what I got to do to get it. Same with alcohol. I'm going to, mismanage my money. I'm going to go spend on more alcohol and liquor. I'm going to, get drunk. I'm going to overly excessively drink, DUIs, you name it. Crimes are being committed now because we're not managing the substance abuse. So it's plenty of examples. Again, how do we deal with our coping mechanisms, our emotion dysfunctions? Lack of mentorship, just lack of knowledge from the parents and adults. So this is for the youth. So lack of our parenting at home. We're not being taught. We're not being managed at home. You know what I'm saying? And even then, I always say it's a caveat. It's not a perfect world. Even with both parents at home, is cases where that youth or that individual, male or female, goes out there and still getting involved with issues of mental health and crime and so on and so forth. But majority of the time, there's no parents, or there's one parent. Single parent is a lot harder to raise kids or child or children, multiple children, because you don't have both parents in the home. That mentorship from the father and the mother, that love, nurturing from the mother is very key. Whether if you don't have a mother, some cases where the mother's not there, there's your mother's substance abuse or the mother's out there in jail, who knows? Same with the father, vice versa. You have your other extended family. You have aunts and grandparents. You have cousins and uncles and guardians that are there to help with these kids, foster parents. But that mentorship and knowledge and upbringing is a big key to the youth. Socioeconomic status. So that's also with the parents, because if your mother's working 2 jobs to make sure that you got food on the table, a lot of times they're not mentoring and there for the kids as much as they should, because they're too busy working 2 jobs to provide food and housing and clothes and so forth. So a lot of times they're not there. Vice versa, the same with the dad. Or if the parent, versus both parents, they're co-parenting, they have to take the time for the child or the children to nurture them and build them up. With socioeconomic statuses, and a lot of times with especially African American communities, we're working more than one job to make sure we're good to go, to make sure we got a roof over our head, food on the table, and so on and so forth. They have to make that sacrifice. So you can't get both. Some parents can do both. I know from my personal experience, my mother worked 2 jobs. She worked day and night. I had to be the brother, the sister, the brother, and I had to make sure my sister was taken care of and make sure everything's good to go. So we have to look at that social and economic statuses. We have to look at how life has been surrounded and built. We have the extended family. We have that grandmother that looks out for the kid while the mother works. We have that sister or that relative that can look out for the kids, that actually looks out for them, not abuse them and treat them like crap, but actually raise them and help them out while the mother or the dad works to provide for the kids. So the extended family is very important. Having that nurturing guardian or that nurturing nanny or wherever the community that's there to help with those kids. That'll offset a lot of the issues where single parents. So we just got to really look at these things. Kind of want to jump around a little bit. So it's a couple of interesting facts for the jails. 6 out of 10 states with the least access to mental health care also has the highest rate of incarceration. A lot of these are southern states, fortunately. This is something I pulled off the Mental Health America stats. I'll put the links on the page. Arkansas, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. These states have been highlighted by this website saying that they have the highest rate of incarceration, according to the times that I think it's 2017, 2018. I have to look at the stats, but I'll post them on the page. And each rate is 100,000 per person. Diversion programs, some of the programs they do have, that diversion programs, mental health courts, and drug courts, they work to help. Where could we put these individuals to get a mental health? If they've been diagnosed with mental health, or if their crimes are related to such, the cases have been presented to the court, and the judge recommends some type of treatment. These programs are available to help these individuals. The fallout rate, the rate where they actually grad out and be able to be good to go, as far as cleared as a success or failure, is big. So we have to look at these programs. Yeah, we can put them through, but how's the high success rate or the high failure rate? If the rate is high, then what the program is effective. But if it's not, if we have repeat offenders, and say someone goes into a substance abuse program, right, and they do a fallout rate, where they don't finish the program, or if they finished it and they go back and be a repeat offender, we measure if that program is effective. So we got to also look at the programs and see are they truly effective, and are they helping those individuals that are put through the programs to get their help. Substance abuse, mental health, psychotherapy. There's plenty of different things. I'm going to go over some types of stuff later that you can jot down. Collaboration, mental health, and substance abuse treatment. In order to receive treatment, one has to plead guilty to a crime and be subject to incarceration. So that's a caveat. If you're going to get help, you've been convicted of a crime in relation of mental health, you plead guilty, you get the help. Again, we got to look at if you're going to be incarcerated, that means it's getting a win-win for the system, right? We're getting a win-win. We're not, we're going to get you the help, but you're going to have to go sit in jail. How effective is that? That's the question I want to know. How effective if someone's sitting in prison trying to get help, is it? Because again, we look at the fallout rate and the grad rate of these programs that the state provides for these incarcerated personnel that are in there to getting the help. How effective is it? So this is the questions we got to present to our lobbyists, our congressmen, our state representatives. They bring it to the mental health counselors that work in the prison. I mean, I only can imagine you got one or two doctors working in this jail, and you got all these patients that's going through mental health treatment per what they've done. It could be overwhelmed. It could be overwhelming to treat all these individuals, and are they really getting treated, and are they really getting helped? Some cases are really extensive. You got really in-depth mental health illnesses with some individuals, so it's going to take a while to get through that system to make sure they're really good to go. Constant analysis, constant medication, constant feedback and evaluation of these individuals to see if they're good to go. We got to more efficient instead of locking them up using pre-booking diversion. Dilemmas dealing with, let's see. Okay, you got to continue to core in and out of the system, taking meds. So pre-booking diversion. So, we go ahead and get them set up already. You already been committed. We're going to book them. We're going to get them set up. We're going to go ahead and get them get their speedy trial stuff going. And we're already going to start treatment. So that is another way where we can get them in the system, but also get them help. So if they say it's effective, but again, I always ask, is it really effective? We peel back the layers and look at it. How is pre-booking diversion effective? If we just go ahead and lock them up. It's depending on the crime. So again, we got to always look at the crime, what they've done. The crime is substitute of they needing to be locked up. If especially if it's something like murder, homicide, where he pleads insanity, right? They plead insanity, and he's saying he's mentally ill. That could be a big thing. So a lot of stuff to it. Taking meds. Make sure that the meds are at the right dosage. Make sure that are they evaluating and making sure that it's effective. Those medications, they have side effects to them. So sometimes if they give them too much dosage, or if the body reacts positively and negatively to the medicine, that could determine how much medicine they get and how effective it is. If they get the medicine and then it's not as effective as it should be for the persons taking it outside of a society, how are they functioning? They got to be evaluated consistently to see if that medicine is effective for the correct dosage, the correct reaction to the body. Make sure that the reactions are positive. They're not getting any side effects, getting sick from the medicine. Make sure that the body doesn't reject the medicine, and make sure that they don't, immune to the medicine. Because after a while, you take medicine and the body starts to build immunity to it, and therefore they need something stronger or they need something different. Each medicine that you take differently, body reacts differently, side effects. So we got to look at all these things, constant evaluation. Therapy, support systems are good. So in combination of medicine or psychotherapy, you can have supporting group systems that are there to help the individual get over the mental illness that they have or manage their mental illness. Sometimes some mental illness don't go away. You have to manage them and make sure that they're taking medicine, getting their treatments, and make sure the evaluation is consistently monitored to make sure that they're effective. Because again, it's the whole point of the whole treatment and rehabilitation is to make sure that they're effective citizens, that whatever they've done, they can manage their illness and be able to be productive citizens in society. So they got community-based services. So when people get out of jail, obviously when they get out of incarceration, they have the community-based. I know a lot of people relate to the halfway house or substance abuse treatments, AA, and all those. Those are just for substance abuse. But for mental health, what are some of the community-based services available that the state provides for these individuals when they get out and transition back to society, transition back to the workforce, transition back to their neighborhoods? Some things we got to look at. We got to continually monitor those individuals that are mentally ill that the community can offer. So community-based services, whether nonprofit, whether funded, we have to look at these things. So Congress, some of the things I would present to them. We actually got these 2020 elections coming up. So some of the biggest things I look for picking a candidate, always go vote, but look at your candidates. Look what they're going to do for us as a people, African Americans especially, because we're the ones that's getting a lot of this brunt at the end of the stick. We're the ones that's receiving a lot of these issues with rehabilitation and mental illness. We need to really be seeking and be careful who we select and vote for. What they're going to do for our mental illness. What are the funding? What are some of the programs that are put in place? When we vote for our state electives, our city electors, our governors, city council, what are they doing for us? In each city that we live in the United States, for your particular place that you're living. When we vote, what are we doing for mental illness? What are some of the programs being presented? We should, as that's also looking at your diagnosis and treatment. Look at your when you go to your mental health doctors. Look at how they're doing their diagnosis and treatments. When we're looking at state government officials, what are they doing as far as putting stuff in place to make sure that we're following through with our treatments and making sure and especially in relation to gun laws. When we think about gun laws, this is a big debate topic. And again, I put on the page a while back where the governor of Virginia was trying to present something in Congress to pass to have a different mental health screening for the type of weapons. 30 days. If you purchase a weapon, you're not allowed to get the gun after that. It's background screenings, things of that nature. It's a big deal. It's a fine line because we got our Second Amendment rights. A lot of people wants to keep guns and wants to own guns, and it's to where pretty much anybody can get one. It's a fine line we got to look at. Okay, mental health screenings. People can get guns. Our youth is affected. They get guns. They go up there and shoot up schools, shoot up churches, go up there and shot the Walmart up. You can walk into Walmart's the most common place where people go. It's a 24-hour. A lot of these Walmarts are 24 hours, so people can go in any time and purchase items in this. When someone can get a gun and go in and shoot, anybody can get a hands of a weapon. And Walmart even sells weapons. So we got to really look at these gun laws. It's a fine line. I mean, it really is. But we have to put stuff in. I believe putting something in place to where we have to check our mental health and make sure we screen people to make sure they're allowed to have weapons. But we got to just look at these different stipulations and deal with the increase of mass shootings. We look at the stuff. There's people that's preventing it and trying to stop it, but law enforcement can do so much. We have to have these deeper things in place to make sure that we're screening. Advocacy for mental health is important. We have sexual assault, we have AIDS walk, we have mental health advocacy. People are advocating for mental health. I am a big advocate on getting checked out, going to therapy, taking advantage of our rehabilitative tools. If you're military, we got options. If you're outside the military, you still got options. Your insurance companies, when you purchase your HMOs and your insurance companies, ask, hey, what are some things for mental health? What are the programs that I can be that are hands-on to me that I can go and see a therapist? Sometimes the cost is worth it. There's a lot of programs. I can post them on the page. Mental health advocacy groups that are advocating for help. Get yourself checked out. What can we do? Appropriate questions. What can we do to improve rehabilitative efforts? How can we make our jails, prisons, correctional facilities have those options for us to go out there and check out and make sure that our people that's diagnosed get treatment? How can we make it better? So when we look at these items, we have to continuously think about those things that we're doing. Some of the things that we have to think about far as treatment, again, you might want to jot these down. We have move this over a little bit. We have our medications. We have case management, hospitalization, support groups, complementary and alternative medicines, and our safe self-help plan and peer support. Those are some things. I pulled this off of mentalhealthamerica.net. I posted. But these are some things that you can just look into. And psychotherapy, of course, psychotherapy. Trained mental health professionals, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, seeks to improve an individual's well-being. Paired with medication is the most effective way to promote recovery. This is some definitions for psychotherapy. Medication is a simple definition. There's obviously medicine, whether alternative or through a pharmaceutical version. This medicine is to help offset the chemical imbalances in our brain. Valium, I don't want to say the wrong things. Valium, this is one I can think of right now. There's many more, but there's different medicines to offset those chemical imbalances or hormonal imbalances in our brain to help us function and do what we need to do. Case management. Individuals with the help of case manager can assess, plan, and implement a number of strategies. So they're there to manage you and help you find resources and avenues to help you get the help you need. Hospitalization, obviously, that's in a psychiatric hospital. If they're necessary, they're there to monitor, evaluate, and provide treatment in a closed facility, in a isolated facility where you're not affecting others, but you're there to get treatment and rehabilitation. Support groups, those are really good. I know a lot of the veterans use those, especially dealing with PTSD. You have someone that has similar experiences using a support group where there are other vets that are either in the process of healing, rehabilitating, or those who already have passed that stage. They're there to help support those who are still struggling with the mental illnesses and PTSD and all those other different situations. Support groups, I've done one before, really good. It makes you feel comfortable to open up when you have someone that's experienced stuff with you versus someone who doesn't know. I already talked about complementary alternative medicine. Again, like I said, that's different other types of standard care, other medicines that are out there besides taking pills. There's something called CAM. CAM is pretty much an acronym for the complementary alternative medicine, but again, there's other ways to help. Self-help plan is basically using individual addresses his or her concerns and implementing strategies for wellness, promote wellness, addressing wellness, recovery, triggers, and warning signs. So we know what triggers us. We have to know that that's part of that support group, and that individual sitting with a psychotherapy, we can address those triggers and say, okay, what causes me to react in a negative way when it comes to my mental illness? Knowing, educating myself and advocating and knowing, okay, this is what caused me a trigger. I need to address this. I need to speak about this. I need to find a way to deal with this. And we catch those warning signs early, so we have an issue or we have a attack with our mental illness, so we have a flare up. We can deal with it. We can resort to our techniques and strategies that we put in place. And then the last one is peer support. So peer support, receiving help from individuals who have suffered from the similar experiences. That's a support group. So having that friend or someone that you know, a veteran, especially I'll reserve back to the veterans, they are there to help support and help grow our help us understand that we can get through our experiences that we both dealt with as a person. So peer support is really good. I recommend the peer support and support groups. Therapy is good with a trained professional. They can talk you out of your feelings and thoughts to help you put the pieces back together, deal with the traumatic experiences. I think all those combinations together are good. Everything is just not one thing. You can use many different avenues, and I think it's really good to use that. So pretty much touched on a lot of stuff. I feel like it's 30 minutes into the video. I don't want to push it too much longer, but it's so many different topics, so many different things about mental health. Covered the majority of the stuff that I wanted to cover. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I want people just to take away what they can, jot down the different types of rehabilitative efforts, jot down your stats. Really just sit down. If you know someone's dealing with mental health, really get engaged. If you care about them, get engaged. If you're dealing with the issues yourself, go reach out to these different groups. Reach out to a peer support group. Go to get your psychotherapy. Reach out to the many resources. I'm sure there's a lot more, but reach out, because if you don't, you know what I'm saying, you just hurt yourself and others. If you think you have the stigma of I'm good, I don't need the help, and no one wants to be labeled as crazy or have a mental illness, but you have to reach out if necessary. Is it stronger? It's better. It's better to be strong about it and go do it than try to, have pride in your heart and say I don't need the help. Because it's nothing wrong with just going to talking to counseling. It don't have to be so much as a mental illness. It can be you can be stressed out. You can have a bad day, or you had an offset of a month or something. You can be something that you had a experience where you just feel like you need to talk to someone. And the therapy is there for that. Therapy. I mean, we look in the media, we look at Big Sean, we look at these rappers, we look at some of these celebrities. They're taking the time to get mentally checked out. They are working overload. You could be working double time. You can be dealing with stuff at home. You can be, have a lot going on, and there's nothing wrong with getting help. So just take the time to look at your resources. I hope this video helped. Like I said, there's a lot more stuff on the material. I'm going to try to post stuff on the page. If you got any comments, please drop in the links below. Look it down. Drop a comment below of anything you want to touch on, add to, clear up. Again, please, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just trying to advocate and put out stuff that may help. I'm trying to get a candle lit on someone and get them, hey, I might need to check this out. I might need to do the research. I might need to go get some help. I hope this video does that. I hope this video gives you inspiration, encouragement, empowerment to go out there and seek the help that you need. If someone that you know that needs help, talk to them about it. Share this video. Pass this on to someone that may need it. And it don't have to be and always adults. It can be youth. Cyberbullying is a big thing. There's suicides among teens is a big thing. You know what I'm saying? Because people are not addressing these issues. They're not talking. They're not expressing their feelings and emotions and not getting the help they need. Parents, if you see your child going through a phase where they're cyberbullying, they feel like they're suicidal, they feel like they're depressed, get involved. If you're a friend of that person, get involved. Get them the help they need, because a suicide rates are on the high because someone's killing themselves because they're not addressing these issues. They're passing it on as they'll be okay. They have this stigma where suck it up mentality. If they're dealing with something, you, as a friend, a parent, or someone that's concerned about the individual, you need to say something. You need to address these issues and get them the proper help they need. There are resources out there. So I hope this helped. You got any, stay tuned again, down the line. The next thing is going to be stand your ground. There's a couple of things I'm going to add on the page about stand your ground and some of the other case updates on caseload. Again, check Inspirational Quote Wednesdays. Again, it's an encouragement tool. Pass it on to somebody. It's on SoundCloud. I put it on Facebook, Instagram. And again, just stay tuned. I got more stuff coming, more material. And we're going to keep on pushing. So again, mental health. Get yourself checked out. All right. Be blessed.